Welcome to Vibrant Living Conversations. I'm your host, Gemma Pudding. As a life coach to midlife mamas and women, I'm excited to bring these conversations from North Idaho and across this region to support you on your journey to vibrant living, glowing from the inside out, fully living in your own true to you power. Hello everyone, welcome back as I continue my conversation with Jenny about the Enneagram personality test. This is the second and final part of the conversation. If you missed the first part, be sure to go back and listen to that from last week for the overview of the personality test in general and for personality types 1 through 3. So I hope by now that you know your number and are excited to learn more about yourself and your loved ones with this awesome tool. So here we go, diving back into this conversation with personality type number 4. Enjoy.
Okay, moving on to the 4. So the 4 are the individualist. They want to be different than everybody else. What's really unique about that is there are fewer 4s than any other number in the world. How ironic is that? And they want to be unique, and they kind of like made sense in the world to only be few and far between. So if you know a 4, they're one of very few in the world. But again, they make their way in the world by being individuals. They're very self-aware, they're sensitive, they're the most emotional number. They're reserved. They hold themselves off unless they feel like they can trust you. Basic fear is that they will have no personal significance. So again, they really crave to have that identity and to be singled out almost. And so that's what they're going for. They don't want to be grouped with anyone in any way, shape, or fashion. So if you're in a group or a conversation with a 4, a lot of times what you'll hear from them is, oh, I don't do it that way. I have my own way of doing that. Or something like that.
Yeah, right. What's our pop culture person? I'm loving the pop culture. That brings it back so much. Who's the pop culture for?
Pop culture for probably Phoebe on Friends.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, love it.
And if you've seen Grace and Frankie, which is kind of newer, Frankie is totally a 4. They're usually super artsy. I'm not going to get into wings, but you have a 4 wing, so you have a little bit of 4 in you. And Elaine on Seinfeld. Those are all 4s. Okay, very quirky, very I'm my own person. I'm going to do things differently. I mean, she's the only girl in a whole group of guys. Like, there's a lot of things that make her 4 just in her personality. When they are in disintegration, they are going towards 2. So the 2-4 can be really codependent because they go to each other's number. We don't have enough time to go into that, but that's where they go. And then in integration, they're going to 1. So a lot of times 1s will have relationship with 4s because 4s are trying to reform and become better when they're integrated. That's basically, I mean, they can be really over-involved in clinging at 2. They become more principled and self-disciplined and objective at 1. 5s are the thinkers. They're alert, insightful, curious. They're totally the scientist of the world. They're the ones that create things, especially when we're talking about technology. The best doctors, innovators, these are the 5s. They are so in their head. Socially awkward sometimes, but not always. They love complex ideas, skilled. Their trap is when they get nihilistic and isolation. So those are their 2 traps. It's because they want to overthink. They start to get really critical, like everything in the world is evil because I can't figure it out. Or I have figured it out and everything is evil. Or whatever word they want to coin it. Like it's not what I thought it was. And I'm above that. Isolation, again, is key. Not only are they a deep, deep thinker, but they're in the withdrawn stance. So they are the most isolated and need the most energy reboot after social settings. So if you know a 5, this is where a relationship comes in. If you know a 5, don't get your feelings hurt if they don't want to see you for 2 weeks. Like they need that time. Otherwise, they don't want to be friends with you. Or if you're married to a 5, go in separate cars because they are only going to be at a social setting for like the smallest amount of time when they are needed. As soon as they are not needed anymore, they're out.
Interesting.
And they'll just like slip away. You'll be like, where did so-and-so go? Oh, they're probably 5s. Their basic fear is being useless. So they need to be able to use their minds in all the best ways. They want to be capable, competent. They want people in their social circle to see them as very competent above all else. They don't care if you don't think they have feelings. They would rather be competent. And they're not feelings repressed. They just care so much about being competent. Possessing knowledge and understanding everything in the world is really important. So I thought of Sherlock Holmes. So he's a really good, Robert Downey Jr. does a really good version of a 5. because he's so in his head. He doesn't really have feelings. He just kind of makes his way in the world through thinking and walks around and talks about theories. That's a 5. Yeah. The very eccentric version of a 5. And then Mark Zuckerberg on the Facebook. He's another version of a 5 that's more eccentric and more in his head and not social. So those are 2 really good examples. My mom's a 5. And one example that I have is being a 1. I just think you always want to like be the best. And like, you know, you're always trying to be the best version of yourself, and not in a fake way, but just in a real way. And I dropped my kids off and we were going to go out on a date. And my mom's first question was, when are you coming back? Like literally when I dropped the kids off. Because she needs to know like how much energy she has to expand upon for the kids, and they were younger then, to be able to do a good job as a grandma and to do herself, you know, well as a 5. But I didn't know she was a 5. And I got really, my feelings were hurt because of it. So it's a perfect example of understanding the number and then being able to love them through their number.
I love that. Yeah.
So, okay, moving on to 6s. 6s are the loyalists. They are really good friends, reliable, trustworthy. They're, again, going back to present tense. So they're with you. When you're in a meeting with a 6, they're writing every single thing down. They're in the thinking triad. So they're also thinking about all the things that could go wrong. They crave safety and security above all else. So a lot of times you'll see 6s with a power player, like an assertive number or even a 1, because 1s are so trustworthy. And so 6-1 relationship is really good because of the dynamics of both being present and the 6s being loyal and the 1s being trustworthy. They meet a lot of each other's need in work environments and relationally. They're great. I know I only mentioned those. I can name others, but we don't have enough time. I'm just kind of like going as I remember.
No, I love it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Their trap, though, is self-doubt. So even though they're very smart people, they're in the thinking triad, they're very capable people. In fact, they're probably more smart, more intelligent than people give them credit for, because they are a little more quieter most of the time. They don't really allow themselves to be seen or heard in conversation because they're continually doubting themselves. So they're in the thinking triad. And what we say about the 5 and more the 6 is they think and they think and they think, but they never press play. So they have really good ideas, but nobody knows about them. And there are more 6s opposite of the 4 than any other number in the world.
I know a couple of these people.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Their basic fear is to be without support and guidance. So they do not want to go on a trip with you unless you have all your ducks in a row. Like, forget about it. They're not leaving their house unless you know what you're talking about. And I've been told this directly from 6s that they would go with me, but not some other people. Right. So again, that trustworthiness has to be there for a 6. And then they need security and support. So in relationship, if you are married to someone that is a 6, they need more verbal processing than you could ever imagine. Like they want the antidotes, references to every single thing that you're doing. So keep that in mind when you know a 6, so that they can trust you, so that they can know that you're reliable. And once they have that trust, they will be loyal to you to the death. It's like loyalty is number 1. So 6s, pop culture. Chandler on Friends is a 6. So he's a little neurotic, you know, he definitely does not trust very easily, you know, he's commitment phobic, all of those things we see, he plays out well. And also a cartoon reference is Nemo's dad in Finding Nemo. He's very, very afraid of letting go. I mean, he's the perfect example of a 6. So if you haven't seen that movie, watch it. It's okay to watch it as an adult. In disintegration, 6s go to 3. So you're going to feel that space because you also go to 6. Yeah. So you go to 6 in integration, but they're going to you in disintegration. So they're only going to go to you when they absolutely have to stand up for themselves in very scary situations. So it would definitely be stress. That is where they become arrogant and they do not look like themselves anymore. In growth, they get very optimistic and relaxed. So they go to 9. So 9's the peacemaker. We haven't made it around to them yet, but they get relaxed, more easygoing. So when they feel safe, like a 6 with a 1 or a 6 with a very supportive 3, they could feel relaxed and safe with you, but they're never going to be the one taking the lead. So they connect to you like a Klingon if they trust you.
As a planner, right? We love to plan, but at the same time, if someone's just latching onto you and not doing any of the groundwork, you can see without this framework, you could be annoyed. You can be like, they're leeching onto me. You could have all kinds of horrible feelings, but understanding exactly what you just said gives you that perspective, love, compassion. This is me standing in my power. This is them in their power, and us working together to go on our vacation joyfully.
Yes, exactly. And verbally communicating that with a 6 is key because they're verbal processors. They're going to verbal process and they appreciate it back. So that's also key to knowing a 6. Sorry. So 7s, adventurers, they are spontaneous, they are playful, they are the social butterflies of the world. So it doesn't matter if they know you, have never met you, have known you for a million years, at a party or social function, they're the ones in the middle of the crowd. Everybody wants to be them. Everybody wants to know them. These are those people, okay? They don't have a lot of deep relationships, especially in average and disintegration space, because they're so go, 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 fun, 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 that a lot of the times they don't develop deep relationships. Now, again, we're talking about like high school, right? Average space. So think about yourself as a 7 then. Hopefully as an adult, you're more integrated. But 7s are known as these playful people that really just want to have fun. They're motivated by fun. So whatever fun looks like for them, similar to achievement for you, is what they're going to go after. Okay. What I see their trap being is impatience and impulsiveness. So being in a relationship with a 7, it can get tricky if you are not the one that likes to just go, 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 right? So if you're a planner and you're in a relationship with someone who has to go, 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 you really need to like nail that down. Like if we're going to have fun, we're going to do this, then we also need to plan it and do it this way. Like there has to be balance. That can be really hard for a 7. Oftentimes 7s, when they go on vacation or just in day-to-day life, they just kind of want to arrive. They don't want to plan it. They don't want to think about it even. They just want to arrive and be like, all right, the party's here. I'm here. Let's do this, you know? So that's them in their average self. Okay. So in integration, they are going to move towards 5. So 5, they're going to be more thinking, fascinated by life, more focused. So I know a lot of 7 adults who are in their 5 almost all the time because they're just very integrated. They've done their work. So they're more focused. They understand that life can't be a party all of the time. They have deep conversations. And in fact, probably the most for me, because I go to 7 in my strength and they are 7s going to 5, I have best conversations with 7 because 7s because they are analytical, they're thinking, they really are striving for a purpose, they're thinking through things. And so we match well because I'm trying to change the world, they know how to change the world. And we meet in 7, so it's not so dry, it's very like integrated.
Ooh, that's good for finding a business partner, right? Sorry, that's
yes.
I just went like someone that can, yes, make it happen.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's just my personal experience. I feel like 1s do that with a lot of numbers, but because we both touchstone on 7, when 7's in disintegration, they become more like 1s. So that's unfortunate because they become more like the perfectionist side of 1s. They can be really critical and they get into this because they have the power of 5. They're very smart people. They can be belittling and they're usually right, but they just stomp over feelings because again, 7s are feelings repressed. They don't really care about your feelings unless you are in their inner circle. And even then, they don't care about saying hurtful things if they're right. When they're in disintegration, when they're in integration, they're not going to do that. But if they're in disintegration, they're going to stomp over feelings to be right, to go into that perfectionist state of I am above all else. You're wrong, I'm right. And that is a scary situation. So we do not want that. 1s, or sorry, what did I say for? I didn't have the best. Oh yeah, I did. Okay. 7s. I'm like, where are my 7s? Pop culture. So the funny, like all over the place, average 7 would be Kramer on Seinfeld.
Okay.
So he's just like arriving, right? He just like rolls into Seinfeld's apartment and it's like, okay, and now I'm raiding your refrigerator. Like that's a 7 in average space. In Outlander, if you have seen Outlander, James Fraser, who is the main character, is also a 7. So very integrated 7. Like he's a protector of his people, very intelligent, but also like I'm going for the fun. I'm going for what is I want to do. And then have you seen I'm blanking out, the cartoon with like all the feelings, Inside Out.
Yeah, I love it so much.
So Joy, the main character,
Yeah.
she's a 7. So she's very much, there's some average space there, but definitely integration when she's like trying to pull it all together. But you could see that 7 go to 1 and 5 and stay in 7. So that's a great show to watch, to see 7. And also Sadness is a 6. Okay. So the 7-6 play out. They're both in thinking. So those are really good. It's a really good show if you're in thinking and you haven't really quite nailed your numbers. Okay, 8s. 8s are really confident and strong. Okay, 8s are the biggest power players on the wheel. My husband is an 8. And when you are in the room with an 8, everybody knows it. I mean, they just make themselves known, and it doesn't have to be verbally. Sometimes it's just physically. And that doesn't mean you have to have like a tall or large body physically. You just are known. There's something about an 8 that you just know they're in the room. Okay. Energy wise, for sure. If you're an empath, you feel an 8 energy coming in. Protective, resourceful. They are the best protective people. They will protect their people. If you have gotten close enough, because it's really hard to get close to an 8, but if you have gotten close enough to an 8, you are in their inner circle. Similar to a 6, but a little bit differently. Because 8s are a little more foreboding, they don't allow people in. They fear vulnerability above all else. And so allowing, relationships to come in, they have to embrace vulnerability. So there's going to be maybe 2 or 3 people that they're close to in their entire lives. Fascinating. So that's an 8. They have a huge problem with temper when that's their trap, is temper. So we didn't go over this, but 2s, 3s, and 4s and feelings, they have shame right here at the shoulder. That means shame is coming. Shame is rising, especially when you're feeling things, you're feeling shame around things. 5, 6, and 7s, they are feeling fear. It's all about fear-based. So they're motivated by fear. And then 8s, 9s, and 1s, it's guilt. And so with guilt comes anger. And we know anger is a secondary emotion, but guilt goes right to anger with an 8. And their tempers, just like if they don't have integration, if they haven't done their self-care, anger is going to come out on people. And it doesn't look very, very pretty. So they can be really confrontational and intimidating in that space. They fear being controlled by others. They don't want control like a 1. So I want control. I crave it. And 8s just don't want to be controlled. So you can imagine our relationship. It's interesting. And the desire is for them to protect themselves and their people. So that's their desire, that at all costs, they're going to challenge people that are going to get into their space and into their people's space. So that's an 8 in a nutshell. For references, pop culture, cartoon. I try to do cartoon stuff because moms. But Merida in Brave, she's an 8. Very strong. She goes up against her mom and a bear and other things. Marvel from the Marvel series. If you've seen Marvel, she's an 8 for sure. So those 2 are my references. Yeah, that's an 8. Oh, in disintegration, they're going to go to 5. So they withdraw, they become very secretive. They may even create like a lying pattern, which is really hard for people who put honesty above all else, obviously in marriage. And then in integration, they're going to go towards 2s. They're going to be extra caring, extra protective. They're going to be like the hero that you always wanted. Okay. So that's an 8. Now we are going to the last number, 9s. 9s are the peacemakers. So 9s are great. They're extremely trusting, stable. They do everything to keep the peace. I mean, everything. They want everything to be smooth in relationship, in their lives. However, with that is the trap of avoiding conflict. So we all know that conflict is part of life. We have to do the self-care around it so we understand what to do when we're in it. 9s avoid it at all costs, which is problematic. Mm-hmm. So their basic fear is to be in conflict. So they avoid it. Their basic desire is to have a peace of mind. So when they are in disintegration, they are going towards 6s. They're very anxious, worried. They've kind of lost control of all things, and they're going to clam up and basically just be within themselves so they can avoid any type of conversation, any type of relation. And then when they're in integration, they're going towards 3s. They're more self-developing. They're understanding like, oh, I can actually move through the world and conflict isn't so scary. I can engage and see that on the other side of this bridge is actually harmonious relationship. I just had to understand that first. Great pop culture is Frodo, who is Lord of the Rings. He is a 9. And also in an older movie, The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks, and book is Allie. She's also a 9. So just trying to keep the peace. Remember when she couldn't decide who she wanted. She didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And it was like, just decide already. And she couldn't decide. And, she decides. But that is a 9 played out really well.
Love it. Oh my gosh. So much. There's so much content. So I'm curious, like someone's listening, they can take the quiz and learn more about, still even at that point, you really need someone to support you and hold space for you as you like go through the reflection, as you go through what does this actually mean for me, as you go through what it means for your relationships. So how do, like someone that's new to the Enneagram, that's like, I'm interested in this, Jenny, sign me up. How do you work with me coaching wise to support me in like going through this filter of the Enneagram to live my best life? What do you say?
I have a couple options. So I just kind of have been doing these soft launches of the sisterhood group coaching, which is a great way for somebody to jump in and start to understand what the Enneagram is, begin to funnel down to their number, and then understand who the people in their inner circle are without being kind of more intimidating as to a one-on-one coaching session. So the sisterhood group coaching, it's once a week. We meet online and it's similar to this on Zoom, but I will coach into something. So like boundaries would be a topic that we would go over one week. What does it look like to have boundaries in work with your relationships? And then as a 2, as a 3, what does that look like specifically? So it is more broad because we will be going around the circle, but I always leave room for Q&A. That way we do touch on specific things that people are dealing with in their day-to-day life. So sisterhood group coaching is great. It's ongoing. It's only $95 a month. So you're kind of getting this really inexpensive way of counseling without going all in. The other option is one-on-one counseling, which I offer, and I do a 30-minute free consultation for people who are just interested in what I would offer, what it would look like, kind of going through the details of what I do during the coaching. So those are the 2 main options. What I have done in the past is you start at square one, like you start understanding your type. I have a quiz online, you take it and I funnel you to 3 numbers. And then from there, we do a deep dive into those 3 numbers. And it's a lot of Q&A. It's a lot of what you would see in a typical counseling session of me asking you questions about your past, present, and hopeful future to try to figure out who you are, what you're motivated by, who you're in relationship with. It's not going to happen in one session. It's going to be just similar to counseling. It's going to take 6 months to a year. But my goal at the end of that is for you to be an integrated version of yourself, to have handlebars, to know that you're not alone. You understand yourself better. You understand those in your inner circle better so that you now can be in your own world in the best version of yourself, but also have the tools when things do happen and you begin to disintegrate, or your spouse or your children begin to disintegrate. You know what to do. You're not at a loss to just do whatever you think you should do, which is what our go-to is in our psyche. So it's extremely helpful. And these tools they're priceless because once you understand them and are able to use them, it's so eye-opening. I can't really explain it in words until you start experiencing it on the daily. And you see, like, for instance, myself, your children react differently. Your spouse understand you and what you're saying because you're going at it from the way that he needs you to go at it. Does that make sense?
Totally. Well, and I say even like you start to live from the inside out when you take the time to understand yourself, to honor yourself and those like in your inner circle, as you're saying. So, because up until like midlife, I really feel like we're taking on stories of the world. We're dancing in like the culture, our parents, the influences from the outside. In midlife, I'm finding a lot of my clients, I'm sure you're the same, where it's like, you've been taking in all these stories. By midlife, there's something more. There's something more. There's a better way to live. There's more depth that you're missing, and being able to take the time. And I would say it's like a year plus to get to know yourself, right? Like, no, it's not going to happen in one session. And our culture is so used to, this is generalizing, I know, but like taking a pill, going through a drive-through, make it fast, make it easy, give me the solution overnight. This is deep work. Like things are going to come up that you haven't ever faced, that you didn't even know lived under the surface. And it's awesome. Like it's this beautiful journey of getting to know yourself. So like having someone hold space for you to explore how you relate with your inner circle. Like it's, and I love your group coaching session though too, because you can see with other women that you're not alone. There's like, it's so easy when we're going through our busy lives to feel alone. This is me. I'm weird. This is my problem. You get in a group circle, a group coaching session, and you have that, first of all, community, but ability to see that you're human. Everyone's human. Like none of us are perfect, and that's not the goal. So I love both of these offerings, and it's so vital to be able to have women doing this work, such as yourself, to hold that space. And as I'm going, I'm like, this leads to your Thrive event in September, which I am so excited about. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? And
Yeah. So Thrive, this is our first annual event, and it is going to be an annual event, and you're one of the speakers, which I'm so psyched about. So we have 6 phenomenal speakers, as well as a ton of other things. I basically wanted this to be a space and place for women of all ages, backgrounds, types to just come and thrive in their own lives. For all of us, it's going to mean something different, but we have basically planned this out to be a fun day. A lot of time in my sessions when women are struggling, it's like, let's let that little girl out. Like she wants to dance again. She wants to play in a bouncy house again. Like she wants to eat cotton candy. And why not? Like we only have one life. Like let's live it, be purposed in it, and feel like we can. Because, society tells us we have to be the Xbox person, but that's just a lie. So we've created just these fun activities that are going to be like fleshed out throughout the entire all-day event. It is all day. And then we have the 6 phenomenal speakers that will be speaking into you as a person being heard, being seen, and feeling loved. And so with those 3 topics, even though they seem very vague, I feel like today, us as women, we really do put ourselves aside a lot of the times. And whether it's in like an organized structure culturally or just in our own households, we don't allow for that to happen very often. And we do put ourselves kind of at the bottom. And this is a time to remind you as a woman, as a person, that you deserve to be seen, heard, and loved. And so that's kind of the theme of the whole event. It's going to be super fun. We've brought in amazing vendors for food and champagne and the work. So it's going to be like tasty as well as just fun activities and heartfelt. So we're trying to touch on heart, soul, mind. And I know that all of us as speakers will get there. And then as a bonus, I'm going to do a really tiny, way shorter than this, mini workshop to get to their number, because my goal is for them to just be introduced to it. Mm-hmm. And then hopefully by the end of the day, they just want more and will feel like they are worth it. They're worth it, because a lot of my clients that I'm seeing now, most of them are struggling with marriage, but some of them are individuals who just want to find their purpose in life. And it kind of hits both, as we've discussed. But I don't want anybody to feel stuck. My goal is to empower women in their own lives. Yeah. That is my purpose. And I've chosen women. I feel called to women because I do feel that in our culture anyways, that we are pushed down. And so without getting on my soapbox, I just want the enlightened versions of ourselves to be seen. Yeah. And if I can help you with that, great, because that's kind of what I'd love to do.
And like you said, this is going to be it's going to be a day of, yes, there'll be speakers and there'll be time to reflect on yourself, but they'll be fun, right? Because it's easy to be like, okay, yes, I'm going to go to a coaching session. And I know it, where sometimes I'm like, I don't want to think about myself. I just want to be like, bounce, eat cotton candy. Yes. So it's going to be a beautiful combination of all of the things. So it's September 23rd. What's the best way to learn more, to find you, buy tickets, all of the things?
Yeah, so everything's online, EnneaSisters.com. Once you get on the website, you'll see Sisterhood Thrive event. And if you are a business owner, there's a few sponsorships available. And that's a great opportunity for you to get a vendor table. It comes with tickets. So Both of those links are on the website, but it is September 23rd. It's at the Cove in Post Falls, which is a great venue. We have a ton of space. It's kind of new to the area of Kootenai County, but it's beautiful. The owners are amazing. They're going to be part of the event. And it's all day. It starts at 8 a.m. We're going to do a really cool shoppers market. And then it'll just be, it'll be just so much fun. There's really nothing like it, but it is going to be about community, about sisterhood, about us coming together under one like-minded thought of being heard, seen, and loved. And I'm really excited. I know it's going to be like the event that you want to be at every year. At least I hope so.
No, I mean, I can already feel the energy of the room. Can't you? Just like all of these women that have chosen to take the day to come together, to learn, to have fun, to connect. Like, it's giving me chills thinking about it, which, like that. Who doesn't want to be a part of that? Well, Jenny, I know we talked about a lot of Enneagram. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on that I haven't asked you?
I don't think so. I just want to reiterate that the Enneagram, again, is a tool like many others. And the reason I love it is because it works, it is historically based. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years, so it does work. And it's empowering because you can use it. You don't have to go to a counselor. If you can, that's great too. And maybe you could do both, but this is kind of a way to hack that way into counseling and spend a few sessions with me. It does take a coach though. I've had so many people that have tested wrong and they've been using the wrong number for years. And then they come to me and it's like, we kind of have to funnel back. I would take a test, but just as a first tool to get you to a coach. Mm-hmm. And then from there, you kind of need a coach to guide you, to ask the right questions. I mean, there's a lot that you cannot get out of a test. And tests have been proven to be only 56% accurate at best. So if we're talking about your life, that's not good enough.
Exactly. And I think too, between counseling and coaching is very much forward thinking, proactive.
Yes.
Yes, of course, we're going to touch on the stories, your experiences thus far in your life that have gotten you to where you are. But that coaching piece that's going to take that, but be forward thinking into your dreams, your desires, your hopes for the future is why I went into coaching, right? It's very much forward thinking and moving forward in your life.
Yes.
So
yes, exactly.
So my final question that I always ask, my definition of vibrant, so glowing from the inside out, who are a couple of people, businesses locally that are inspiring you, or how? I know there's so many, but in the last year or so, let's say that.
Oh my gosh. So there's so many because that's what I do, right? I support other women and there's so many great women who are coming to this event who own businesses locally. I would hate to leave anybody out, but I'll just name my speakers because they're loyal to me and I'm loyal to them. But you, of course, outside of this podcast, you're such a vibrant person and I love that I know you and I love what you're doing for the community. So you for sure. And then we have Misty Lake, who's another one of our speakers, but she also has a coaching business like ours and has run a very successful oil business for a long time. Carmen Spots, who has an apothecary in Spokane. She is amazing, wonderful woman. Love her. Sally Amer, she has a salon in Hayden. She's another one of our speakers. Great woman inside and out. Bailey Bowerman, who does a lot of writing for a magazine out of Spokane. She also does local modeling, and she's just a vibrant person. I can't wait for you guys to get to know her and meet her. And then we have Farrell, who is out of California, and she has just an amazing story about how she survived cancer and all of this wonderful stuff. But you all have businesses. You all bring something fresh to the table, but mostly I love who you are. And I think that's why you resonate with this community and just like you said, the inside and out of just who you are and what you do for your business is just so obvious. And that's why I'm so proud and happy to have you as our speakers for Thrive.
And you, it's going to be so fun. Yeah, no, you are such a light as well. Well, thank you so much, Jenny. This has been such a fun conversation as always. And I could talk to you all week long, but I guess we'll end it here. So I'll get to see you soon. Thanks again for joining me.
Yep. Thank you.
If you like this podcast, I want to invite you to coach with me. Let's ditch the autopilot living to slow down, tune in, reset, and redesign your life to glow from the inside out based on the beautiful being who you are, what matters to you, and how you want to dance through this life. I help you understand your self-sabotaging ways, program thinking, and tendencies to outsource your power, and reshape them to align with the true you for this chapter of your life. To join me in a complimentary coaching session, go to my website, www.gemmaputty.com. Sending all the love, light, and vibrancy. Until next time. Hello, friends! As you can tell, the Enneagram has epic content to describe each of the 9 personalities. I'm going to wrap this episode up for this week to give you a chance to go and take the personality test and tune back in next week to hear Jenny tell us about the other 4 personality types, as well as about the EnneaSisterhood Thrive event, which is going to be on September 27th here in this local area of North Idaho. It'll be such a fun-filled day for women to feel seen, heard, and loved. And guess what? I am one of the 6 speakers. You can learn more and purchase your tickets at EnneaSisters.com. That's ENNEA Sisters.com. Sending all the love, light, and vibrancy. Till next time.